Well, good morning, guys, and welcome to the show. How's everybody doing today? Fernando.
Welcome to the show.
How you doing?
Ah, wonderful, man.
You excited about working on this F-150?
Yes, I am.
And the reason why he's just trying to contain himself with excitement is because this is one of your guys' favorite. This is a 911. Oh, yeah. This is somebody that, well, he paid for something, he didn't get what he paid for. So it's in here today for two reasons. One, to fix all of that, and two, for technology upgrade. I'll explain what that is, but let's get through this intro, and I'll see you on the other side. We know how much you guys absolutely love 911s, right, Fernando?
Correct.
You guys tell us, like, anytime we're on the internets that, oh man, we love the 911s. And I personally hate them because I hate knowing that somebody paid for something and didn't get what they want. It kind of is what we do for a living.
Yeah.
And when somebody does a sucky job, it really kind of pulls at our heartstrings. And of course, it encourages us to, when we get our hands on it finally, to make sure that everything we go through it with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that it's the way it's supposed to be. We're going to take you on that journey all the way through that. The first thing we have to do, like if you're in a position where you're going to have to fix something for you, your buddy, whatever. First thing, the very first step, if you have amplifiers, is to disconnect them from the battery, because you're going to be going down a rabbit hole and you might forget. You're just going to get carried away into it, and just discovery, as I like to call the archaeology of the 911. So that's where we'll start on this one. We have this 4-gauge wire here, and we have this 8-gauge wire here. Let's talk about, for a brief second, you can go ahead and cut them, the positives and negatives of this installation. We have an 8-gauge wire here, which I'm assuming goes to the smaller of the two amplifiers. It is going through the grommet, so it's not pinched in the metal, but there is no waterproofing on it. Now, whether you decide to put Tech Flex or Loom or anything like that, the reality is that the shield on the wire is the strength. This is an extra protectant that can protect it from anything happening in the engine compartment. This doesn't have any. As you can see, every other wire in here does, so that's why we do it. Protection, and also to blend so it doesn't look like this cheap thing. The simple fix on this is, for one, figure out a way to mount this fuse, because zip tying it to the main power harness, not the best. And two, cover it in something, fill the hole. Let's look at the other wire. Now, the 4-gauge does come across here, which is nice because that's what we do. But as you can see, as it comes out over here, there is nothing covering this wire. Well, it had it there, but it doesn't have it here. That is a result of the way most power wire companies cover their kits. They give you, for some reason, a very small amount of Tech Flex that covers just where it would be coming through the engine compartment. Kind of like if it was that 8-gauge and where it had came through, then it would be wonderful and we wouldn't be having this conversation. But it isn't. It's something I don't like. I wish manufacturers would cover the wire. Now, there are some that do now. Metra does that with their kits.
Yep.
That's fully sleeved. We fully sleeve our wiring. Just something to consider. It does come through the main grommet over here. It is coming through the rubber part. It's not pushed out or anything like that. However, there again, it's just a slit and there is no insulation on it. Why that could be important, because if you look over here on the floor, you see this water stain? I'm not saying it's because of that. However, that's usually what happens. Is we live in Florida, there's tons of rain, there's tons of water. If you've ever driven on a wet road with a puddle, it's gonna get into this and it's gonna get into the car and it's gonna make the car stink. We use 3M strip caulk. However, there's a ton of stuff, some silicone on a finger, rub it in the hole, do whatever you need, but you need to make sure you waterproof that hole so that whatever's happening here in the engine bay does not get into the carpet inside the car. To be a 911, it has to be more than, let's just say, some janky power wire, because let's be honest, that's most cars out there. People just don't think, oh, I need brackets to mount the fuse holders and stuff like that. Oh, it's perfectly acceptable if I put a zip tie to hold the wire in. Whatever turns you on, it's not. So this is one of those monologue times where I'm gonna explain to you why it is here and what the original plan was. So this gentleman got a really good deal on a set of Focal K2 components and an amazing deal on some flax. And he was like, that is cool. I'm gonna have the K2s put in the front, as you naturally would. I'm gonna have the flax put in the back. Needed an amplifier to power him, so we took him to his local Focal dealer. They sell him a Focal amp. He's all excited. He's got 2 subs underneath the back seat, which we'll take a look at. And he's like, this is gonna be awesome. When he got it back, not so much. So, this is the K2 tweeter. And as you can see, it's mounted in the back door. That means that the flax tweeter is mounted in the front. Now, if you guys have followed the channel, you're probably familiar with what their passive crossovers look like. We've talked about them, we've shown them, but if not, you'll see them in this video. According to him, the flax tweeters are mounted in the back door, and he only assumes that because for a long time the passenger rear window wouldn't roll down all the way. Finally, he knocked it loose, and it does roll down all the way now, so that ought to be interesting to see what that looks like. And then they told him that they mounted the K2 crossovers behind the radio. And as you can see, there's a gap here, no gap here. Okay, so cool. It's just looking pretty janky as far as that goes. This is the technology upgrade we're gonna do. It has an older radio in it that doesn't have all the best features, and also we want better sound quality, so we're gonna upgrade to this Kenwood right here. We'll come back to that. As far as the 2 amplifiers go, they're mounted underneath these 2 front seats. I don't even want to look at those yet. We've disconnected the power. The first step is we're going to get this radio out of the dash and see what's going behind there. I want to check and see if those crossovers are there. Then we'll start getting the doors off. Then we'll get the seats out. And we're going to take you guys along on the discovery portion of this, where we figure out what the heck is actually going on in here. Then we'll go through and fix it all. Sound like a plan? Fernando?
Sounds like a plan.
Let's get this radio out of the dash, figure out what's going on behind it. The first step of getting this radio out of this car is this is a rubber piece here. We're gonna pull up on that. Behind that is 2 7mm screws. Down low where you see it says Microsoft Sync, this panel is designed to pop out. Now it can be tricky. The older the car is, the more likelihood of it not coming out the way we want it to happens. Just gently start prying. Eventually it'll pop out. On the back side, you can see these clips here along the top and bottom. That's what I'm talking about. Come at it from the end instead of the top. That's what causes these to break. There's this clip here on the passenger side. So if you kind of come in here and push a little bit, this will pop off and it won't do anything. The customer has told us this doesn't work, meaning the factory USB doesn't do anything. I believe there's USBs located in the glove box that of course is filled with all kinds of fun and excitement. There's a 7mm screw behind here. You want to remove that. Now this is where the fun comes in. This kit actually snugs in behind these panels here. So to get those loose, start at the bottom, just kind of pry up a little bit on them. And do the same on the other side. If you have the center console version of this, you may have to remove a lot more. This one is kind of easy. Pull this forward from the top and bottom. Do a little shake left and right. It'll come out. Disconnect all the harnesses on the back, your airbag, your cigarette lighter, your air conditioner. You don't have to worry about the airbag triggering anything in this car. And set that aside. Oh goody! Zoom in on that. So there's what we have located behind the dash. We know these cars' dashes are getting tighter and tighter and harder to work on. And the more stuff that the factory puts in there, the harder and harder it is to get what you need in there. And that's why putting like giant passive crossovers behind the radio really doesn't seem like that great of an idea. But we'll start pulling this out and see what we got going on. To get the radio out, there are 4 7mm screws located towards the back, to which this has 3. Pull the radio forward. All right. So, before you start unplugging things, if you're going to be keeping the RCAs you're using, make sure they're labeled. In this case, we're not. It looks like it's using kicker RCAs here for the highs. Something else different.
Metra.
Oh, Metra. For the sub, the antenna, power, USB, steering wheel control, microphone, line level input. That's different. Okay, so we got a lot of stuff going on. And here are those 2 passive crossovers. They did use Tessa tape to tape up a whole bunch of stuff. I'm guessing this is what goes underneath the front seat. Wow, this must have been fun trying to get these crossovers in here, because these are the crossovers, like you have to pull these 4 screws off and you have to really build these crossovers. For now, we're just gonna get some cutters, just trim these up, get them out of the dash. And the next thing, remove the power plug. This does have a Metro steering wheel adapter. We need to open the glove box and figure out what's going over into that. Alright, here we go. We have a subwoofer level control that they installed. These are just two short RCA. Oh no, this is just a short RCA. This goes off to a Stinger 4000. And then to remove the glove box, which got us the aux cable and the USB out. And we have this guy here. Let me see your cutters for a second. They're using a T-tap to attach the power and ground for the steering wheel controls. Leave those right where they're at for now. We're changing brands of radios, so that'll have to change. And down here on the harness, here's the remote turn on for these RCAs. This, ooh, look, butt connector. So we have a relay.
Emergency brake?
No, because it's got a TR7 for the bypass. It's got a power, an accessory, and a ground, and then it goes. I believe this is powering the accessory. I think this is probably going off to the fuse box and turning on this accessory. Betcha this is a smart harness, and they didn't sell him a smart harness.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, so the red wire is not connected. Instead of selling him the right harness, that means that this top controller doesn't work. Oh, wow. So they just tap the fuse over in the fuse box to turn the thing on. Listen, if you want to be cheap, that's cool, but the reality is that, I mean, they sold him a steering wheel control. All right. Well, we'll have to talk to him about that. Well, Fernando pulls the fuse box apart and sees what that looks like, so we can remove that wire. We don't want this just chilling out in here. That's definitely not how it's going to end up in the end. This is the harness. A lot of these cars nowadays need some kind of a smart interface to turn on the radio, and also it just does a lot for the car. It's talking with the car, telling it what to do. So not putting something like that back in is a bad idea. This car, there's several interfaces that you can use with it. Everybody makes one now. We'll probably get him to go with the iData interface because this has a top screen in it, located right here. And when you use the iData interface, it retains that top screen and all of its functionality. So it'll tell you the radio stations you're on and all that other fun stuff. Plus, you don't know what that circuit is that they've tapped into. You also lose things like RAP, retained accessory power. So when you turn off the key, open the door, that kind of thing, which are features a lot of people like. All right, he's having fun over there, as you can see. It's yeah, who knows where they found the wire. While he's over there doing that, I'm gonna get this Bluetooth mic out. In order to do that, I need to remove this A-pillar. On this car, it is simple enough. Pull the rubber gasket out, put your hand in there, and it will come loose, and you can get your microphone out. Now, there are some airbag safe clips on this that looks like they had a good time screwing with.
Very nice.
And that's gonna take me a minute to get past that, but Fernando's got that area of parts. Let's go take a look at that. I'll come back to that airbag safe clip. So over here in the side, we have another TR7, okay, and we have a couple T-taps that are put in. This goes off to our wire and back to our wire back there. Some more T-taps. Random T-taps here. Those could have been from a previous install. Who the heck knows? We have all this going on. So this is probably a situation where somebody was trying to be smarter than they needed to be, creating some fun circuit with the TR7. So maybe trying to give them retained accessory power, RAP, as we said, so that which you can do with the TR7. You can, like, when it loses power, it stays on for a minute or two or something like that. I don't know. I'm not even gonna try to figure out what they did with that. However, now that we found these 5 T-tap points, we have to go in and we have to fix this. This is the joys of 911. When a T-tap cuts onto the wire, or cuts onto the wire, when a T-tap attaches to the wire, it can cut it. It also creates a corrosion point because you've removed the shield around the wire. We're gonna have to fix all this creative crap that these guys did in order to move forward. For the next 20 minutes, Fernando's gonna be over there cutting, soldering, getting everything back to as close to not screwed up as possible. And I'm gonna return to this A-pillar. Now, most of the time in these F150s, this A-pillar is just gonna like pop right off with no issues. Not so much on this one. Oh, and they've made the speaker wire so tight that this A-pillar doesn't come out.